A lot of anxiety sufferers fall in the trap of believing that recovery from anxiety isn't possible. They think that their anxiety is somehow unique and different, and their recovery might not be attainable for them. But this simply isn't true. So today I'm going to explain why you can find yourself doubting that recovery is possible, and then explain what you need to do to get on the recovery path and stay there until your anxiety is completely gone. Let's begin. Welcome back to Fearless Anxiety. I'm your host, Peter Wessels. Before we dive in, I want to let you know that I put a complete framework to the anxiety recovery process in the link below. It's called the 5-Step Cure to Anxiety and Panic Attacks, and it's completely free. It describes the fearless approach that I teach, as well as all the other fundamentals of recovery from anxiety. All right, on to today's episode. When you are recovering from severe anxiety, there is going to be doubt that creeps into your mind. And this is especially true early on in recovery. Because here's what can happen. You can start responding to your anxiety in the right way and implementing the steps that I talk about on this channel, but your symptoms are still there and they might be as strong as ever. And so what happens is you quickly start to doubt that you're actually going to be able to recover. You'll find yourself worrying, what if I never get better? Or what if this doesn't work for me like it's worked for others? Those are the kind of doubts and fears that everybody experiences during the recovery process. And I personally was no exception. I had a ton of doubt that I was going to recover. Now, deep down, I knew that I was doing everything I needed to recover. I was doing all the right steps that I needed to. I was dismissing my anxious thoughts. I was surrendering to my anxiety, and I was encouraging my anxiety when it got really bad. So I was doing all the steps of the fearless approach that I've been teaching you on this channel, and I was doing them religiously. Every time I was experiencing anxiety, I did my absolute best to respond in the right way. So I knew I was doing the right things, but I still had a ton of doubt that I was actually going to recover. And the reason I had so much doubt is because my anxiety felt like a complex condition. And so I felt like the cure to my anxiety also needed to be complicated. I doubted that simply changing how I responded to my anxiety could help me recover. But none of those doubts and fears are true, because the systems that we implement for recovery are actually very simple. And we need to acknowledge that the reason that we feel this way during recovery and the reason we're thinking this way is because we have an anxious mind. We have a brain that is stuck in survival mode. So what it's doing is it's looking for worst case scenarios to everything, including your recovery. That's why you find yourself questioning whether the fearless approach actually works. Now, like I said, these doubts and fears are completely normal. Every single one of the anxiety sufferers that I work with has these doubts. But doubt is dangerous because doubt can take you off course. It can make you give up and abandon the recovery path. We cannot have that. So here's what you're going to do. You are going to silence these doubts by telling yourself that you're 100% in for the next 4 weeks. That's all I'm asking for. I want you to implement the fearless approach and the techniques that I'm teaching on this channel for the next 4 weeks. I promise that if you do everything that I teach, you are going to be on the path to recovery and see progress in your recovery within the next 4 weeks. So again, each time doubt creeps into your mind, you tell yourself that you're 100% committed for the next 4 weeks. All right, after you begin to see progress in your recovery, you need to be aware of one major pitfall during the recovery process. You need to understand that recovery itself is not linear. What I mean by that is the intensity of your symptoms don't follow a nice downward path. Instead, as you progress through recovery, there will still be ups and downs. There's going to be some good days and some bad days. Some days you'll feel 10 times better, and other days you'll have fairly intense anxiety. But of course, that is not what you want. You want consistency, right? You want a nice, predictable pattern of your anxiety getting better and better and then eventually going away. When that doesn't happen, when recovery isn't nice and predictable, which it's not going to be, doubt is going to creep back into your mind. You will question whether you're actually going to make it to a full recovery. But I want to assure you that these ups and downs are a normal part of the recovery process. We have to remember that what we're doing is we're changing our relationship with anxiety. The recovery process itself is centered around retraining our mind to not fear our anxiety. We're showing our brain that all these strange sensations are a byproduct of our body's natural protective response, also called the fight or flight response. As that happens, your nervous system is going to calm down and desensitize. But again, that's not a linear process. All right, so here's what I don't want you to do. Don't look for signs of recovery in the wrong place. Don't measure the intensity or even the frequency of your anxiety as a measuring stick of where you're at in recovery. Instead, the only indicator of where you're at in the recovery process is whether you're still afraid of your anxiety. Once you are no longer afraid or scared of your anxiety, once it's no longer this villain or enemy that's out to get you, that's when your recovery takes off. Because once you're no longer scared of the sensations that you're experiencing, it really doesn't matter how much or how little anxiety you feel in a given day. It's not going to bother you. And once you're in that position, a full recovery is just around the corner. Your anxiety symptoms will go away entirely, and you'll never have all these strange and intense sensations again. But like I said earlier, the only way to get to this spot is by responding to anxiety in the right way. You have to implement the fearless approach each and every time that you experience anxiety. And I want you to also implement the other techniques that you're learning on this channel. And then what I'm asking is that you put full and complete trust in me for 4 weeks. Again, that's all I'm asking. Give me 4 weeks and you are going to see your world begin to change. You are going to be on the recovery path and you're never going to look back. So make sure you download the 5-step cure to anxiety and panic attacks in the link below. That's going to make sure you're getting on the recovery path. Also, before you leave, do me a huge favor and hit the like button and the notification button before you leave. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you on the next episode.